Welcome back to Checkmate with Blake. Today I have a shorter but very important video for you guys. I'm going to be teaching you how to use your knights appropriately, how to use them correctly. I'm going to give you guys 5 specific rules that you should follow when using the knight, or rather 5 principles that you should understand on how to use the knight. How this will apply to your games is that when you look at a position like this, for example, rather than trying to study this position and find the exact move you have to play, if you just understand these 5 moves, these 5 principles that you need to know about the knight, a lot of times the moves will just jump right out to you. So you won't have to spend forever and spend a lot of your time studying this position. Instead, you just implement these 5 strategies, these 5 rules on how to use the knight, and the moves will be very obvious for you. If you've been following my channel, you know that I recently made a video on how to utilize or how to use the bishops, but also a video on how to use the rooks as well. So if you make it to the end of this video, and after watching this, I would suggest that you guys go and watch the rooks video and also the bishops, so that way you'll understand all these pieces, because the idea is by understanding how to use each piece correctly, that you'll be able to better coordinate your pieces and win more chess games. For example, if we start in this position, this is our first position. Before we jump right into it, if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow a lot. And although some of these rules are going to be something that you understand or principles that you'll understand, stick to the end, because I'm sure some of these will be newer to you, or maybe it will at least change how you think about chess. So, if we look at this position, this is the first one. What is the move you'd play? Because there's a lot of ideas I could see when you play here. I mean, you see this knight might come here. Maybe you're thinking about pushing the pawn. Maybe you're thinking about creating breathing room for your king. I don't know, but really the first rule that you need to understand is that knights belong in the center, because what you should notice when you look at this position is that this knight is not developed. Your pieces here are doing somewhat of a good job. This bishop, although it is somewhat defensive, is somewhat centralized. It's on e2, so it is looking at this pawn. If black were to ever take, you're going to take back. This bishop is also kind of playing an active role, and this knight is in a great spot. So, how do we better position our knight? The move that you should play after learning that knights belong in the center should pop out to you and play this move. Now, why would you play here and not here? Well, what are the advantages and disadvantages? When you play this move, where does the knight control? The knight controls 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6 squares. When you put this knight in the center, all of a sudden it controls 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 squares. So all of a sudden, the knight controls 2 more squares. Likewise, if you put it here, this knight here, the knight would also control 8 squares. So the first key and the first rule to using the knights appropriately is to put the knight in the center of the board. What this knight's also doing is adding pressure here. Just want to point that out. The second one is very obvious, and to those who know how to play chess, this just screams to you, and this is a very obvious move. But the second idea is that knights can fork pieces. And why am I telling you this? Why am I showing this? It's something you already know. Well, it's going to kind of carry on into the third rule here. But as a very simple lesson, I want you to understand that knights are the only piece that can fork pieces, which means that knights are great in setting traps and setting tricks like this. Because obviously white is losing in the position when you talk about how they have a knight versus a rook. However, because the knight can fork these pieces, all of a sudden, they can take these pieces without being taken back, too. That's another key point. Now, this one, although I just said knights can fork pieces, this one is actually similar but different. This rule talks about how knights can attack multiple pieces at the same time. Simultaneously, a knight can take multiple pieces. So when you play this move right here, notice you're attacking the king, the rook, and the queen. Why is this special? Because when you're talking about building your attack, you should put your knights in places where they can attack multiple pieces at once, because it's one of the knight's strengths. I mean, the bishop, of course, and all these pieces you could argue are attacking multiple pieces. Like if there were a pawn here and a pawn here, obviously the bishop is attacking multiple pieces. But the knight is attacking multiple pieces without being attacked back. Notice how in this position, all of a sudden, you're attacking all these pieces and not a single one can capture the knight back. So I want you to just kind of think of that. I mean, if you're an advanced player and this is obvious to you, just think about these ideas, because when you're formulating your attack, maybe you would consider having the knight play more of a centralized role here. This one, the next lesson, is that knights can control the board while being stuck behind pieces. Where this really shines is that knights control closed positions. So in this position here, Black wants to push this pawn because these rooks are, they're strongly connected and they're ready to create a very strong presence on the board. Likewise, if they could push this pawn, this bishop would become active. So the move should then jump out to you and say, well, this knight can go behind this pawn. And what is it doing by going behind this pawn? it is still serving a very active role and attacking or defending 8 squares of the board. However, it is stuck behind a piece, which means that black can never activate this pawn here, can never push this pawn to activate their pieces. Meanwhile, your knight is doing a very active role and is actually playing offense while being stuck behind the piece. This rule is going to kind of carry on into this next one I'm going to show you. But I want you to just stop and look at this and realize how this knight is dominating the board while it is behind pieces. This last one is very similar. Although we're not playing offense in this one, we need to stop this pawn here. We need to stop the pawn on d3. How can we do that? If we were to just attack this pawn, they're actually going to push here, and they're going to promote because you can't block, they'll take. So they're going to have a very strong attack, so we have to stop this advance. How can we do that? What's the rule I just taught you guys? On lesson 4, which talks about how knights can control the board, how they can attack while being stuck behind pieces. Likewise, knights are great at blockading pawns for that specific reason. We can put our knight here to blockade this pawn. I'm going to exit out of this. It blockades the pawn so that they cannot make progress, and simultaneously is playing a little bit of defense if they ever could get some kind of back rank going, but it's also playing offense on this bishop. So I want you to think of that too, because when you're looking at blockading these pawns, let's see if I can go to the analysis here just to further, drill this point in. Let's just say we could play this move and that they weren't going to capture here. Your rook, although your rook can blockade this pawn here, like your rook is able to stop this pawn, your rook is now blunted. Your rook is only playing a defensive role and has no active role. And since you know that the rook is a stronger piece than the knight, we don't want the rook to play that blockading role. We would rather the knight do it. Also, like I just said, if the knight were here, let's just go ahead and make some extra moves to kind of illustrate that point again. When the knight is here, ignore the eval bar because obviously the rook is hanging. When the knight is here, it's playing an active role while also blockading the pawns. So that's just all the 5 rules that I want you guys to cover. And again, if you think that maybe this was too simple, if you're an intermediate or an advanced player, I want you to at least acknowledge maybe these rules because this might be a reminder of what makes the knight special. This may be below your level. I don't know exactly what level each one of you guys are at. I'd say for beginner levels, this is a very important lesson because although it may be obvious to you, although you may understand this, again, this is a reminder of how you should use your pieces. And if this video was too simple for you, go check out my how to master the bishops because I have another video on that, which is similar but also talks about maybe a little bit more advanced concepts. And I also have one for how to master the rook, where to best use the rook, 5 rules for the rook as well. I will put those up here. You'll see there'll be a link that'll have 2 of those videos if you stay till the end. I hope you guys found this video enjoyable, and we're going to do another one here soon on how to utilize the queen. And finally, the last one will be how to best utilize the king. If there's any other content you guys want to see, please let me know in the comments. Leave a comment as to an opening you want to see or another chess strategy in general. Whatever it is, just let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you for your continued support of this channel.